even tinker.
You know what? Fuck what books any of you have read. Here's a question for all
You
these
see,
people in
she
here that I
fucking
don't
reads.
know.
She.
No, I don't give.
Have you read?
I don't care. I don't care what you've read or what you haven't read. I want to know what out of the people in here who I don't
Okay, you
know, so
posh little Euro
basically
faggot.
not
Shut the
Dan
fuck up.
or Amy, who here's actually been outside in the last week and actually, smell the grass and had sunlight touch them?
Fallacious appeal to grass, sir. Maintenance does not apply in this conversation. I'm going to ask you to cease and desist all references to said sod in your garden yard, whatever you call it over there. Okay, buddy boy.
Do you have so you have said in the past that you don't have a single ideology. You just spend all your time roasting other people's ideologies because you're too shy and you're too self-conscious to have anybody debunk you on any of your ideologies, so you choose not to have any. So is it true that you really don't have any ideologies?
Yes, that is correct. You've correctly summarized my position. I am a coward and a hypocrite. Thank you for your time. I'd appreciate it if you didn't rub my face in it. I'm very sensitive about it, actually. And I bid you adieu. Our conflict has ended with a rectified solution to the judicial proceedings of this conversation.
So, let's just go through the retard ropes here. Now, are you saying that you are completely neutral on rape? You're completely neutral on that. You don't think it's wrong. You don't think it's good.
Didn't say any of that.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's an ideology. So
no,
you don't
rape
have
is not an ideology.
Being against like rape and murder and stuff. What?
Being against things that you should be against is not an ideology.
What do you? How come you should?
All right, not all ideologies are created equal.
What a cuck.
Oh my lord.
Did you mute
You're such a cuck, Amy. Jesus fucking Christ.
What did I do?
It's an ideology.
Being against rape is an ideology. Thinking rape is wrong is an ideology?
Yes.
That is so retarded. No,
You're a fucking cuck, so I don't. Quite frankly, I don't. I don't care
cancer.
about the opinions of a cuck.
Isn't there a underage boy asking me serious philosophical questions right now, or are you guys just throwing bullshit at each other's faces and hoping to stick?
Yes, there's an underage boy in here who is more philosophically literate than you will ever be in your entire life. All you can do is use 8.
Okay, no, Gabe.
Yo, you just roasted me right now, Gabe.
No.
How do you feel about that?
Gabe,
That's
you're not even
shit.
like, listen, no, you're not fucking philosophically literate at all. Shut the fuck up, Gabe.
Shut the fuck up, Zycron.
No, not even as a fucking joke, okay?
No, shut up, Zycron.
Gabe, you're so fucking stupid when it comes to philosophy.
Zycron.
I think it's time for me to pull out a critique of your
I said I'm more
reason you guys wanna
philosophically
make
literate than he will
together.
ever be. I never said that I was philosophically literate. See that little distinction of words there?
Daniel.
Yes.
I have a critique of pure reason. You want to hang out later and read it with me?
That sounds actually very stimulating.
Actually,
would.
because I do have it, and we can totally read it.
We should live stream it.
Amy, do you think if we went there that all these fuckfaces would show up and fucking try to have an intellectual conversation in the most cucky way possible?
Dad, you can't have a philosophical intellectual
All right, listen,
conversation.
you want me to address that dumb shit you just threw at me, you little tiny boy?
Listen up, you little tiny boy.
Here's the first thing that happened is you presented something to me, I told you no, and then you plowed on like I hadn't said that to you. Now let's deal with the fact that you totally
I asked you, are you against rape? I asked you if you're against rape, little boy.
Being against rape is not an ideology.
Yes, it is. Are you against rape, little boy?
Little boy,
dude, let's just get this straight. I'm an old man, you're a little boy. Let's just establish that. Let's not be confused on the fundamentals here.
If you're an old man, then why do you have a brain of a little boy?
That's called arrested development. I did a lot of drugs in high school.
Because, little kids, they can't develop philosophical opinions. They can't develop ideologies. That sounds like a little boy behavior to me.
Listen, this has taken a turn to a really sexual place, probably just on my end, but I think we should just cut this whole thing off because it really doesn't seem healthy on your end either.
Talk about little boys?
I don't know, man. Did you go watch some of my videos or something? What are you quoting me back to myself for? What's happening right now?
Everybody needs to be a meme on the internet. Like, why?
The only meme on the internet is YouTube
it the cool
clowns.
thing to do? Is this the cool thing to do now? Is be a meme?
You're a fucking meme, Amy. Shut the fuck up with this bullshit.
Yeah, I don't mind being a meme.
You're the biggest meme there is in this entire chat.
Really
Okay, Amy, like, don't. No.
Don't what? Don't
You want to
what?
be a fucking meme. Like, you literally got Steamroller on your fucking, like, face.
Yeah,
Like,
do you know who gave me that name? It's because we have inside jokes with our friends. One of those friends being Devin Tracy, who gave me that name.
oh.
Yeah, so we
Devin
play those
Tracy?
up.
Oh my god, what a fucking big YouTuber.
What an
Jesus Christ.
intellectual.
What
No,
an
he's just cool
intellectual
as
too,
shit.
yeah.
He's just yeah, he is actually.
He's an intellectual.
Yeah, he's a
but
real
never
intellectual.
faggot.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh, look who it is. Look who it is.
Fucking
Devin
Devin the
Tracy's a
intellectual,
legend.
dude.
Yeah.
He told me he gets paid to think. Oh my god.
More like Devin Gacy. Get out of here, cuck.
Paid to fucking think. Jesus fucking
Yeah,
Christ.
people
Kill
pay
yourself,
him.
please.
Isn't that how fucked up is that, right? People want him to make videos, so they pay him. Amazing.
I mean, that's not the insult. The insult is that he makes such terrible content.
Except he doesn't.
Like he makes entertaining but terrible content. Like the ideas within are terrible.
Is Devin in here? Where is
No.
he?
Has Devin ever like ventured to make an original point in his whole life?
No, all he could do is.
Yes.
What was your what about anything you've said today has been original?
Not anything I've said today, but I would like to think of myself as somebody
You know,
who
most
can think
ideas
critically at the very least about
Most
things.
ideas at this point aren't original, and they're just
Yeah, most
justifications of
ideas
other
are
people's
derivative.
ideas.
Steamroller.
Right, okay.
Zycron, so the point you're making is that Devin hasn't made original points. So instead of being a chicken shit, just come right out and say that. So now that you've said that, then we can actually try to deal with that instead of just, once again, crying like a little baby in a corner. So.
Oh,
you
it was
actually
really more of an offhanded comment. The real problem I have with Devin is that he's kind of a bitch, right?
How
So
is
you're
he
going to try to
He's kind of a little
recharacterize the
pussy.
dumb thing you just said. as
Well,
an
well,
offhanded
because
comment.
okay, well, the
How is he
reason
a
why I
pussy?
think
Let's hear,
okay, the
let's
reason
hear
why
what
I
he
think he's a
said.
little pussy bitch, right, is because he
Little
cries
pussy bitch
every
is your
single
fucking
fucking
opening
time
salvo.
somebody criticizes him, right?
Criticize
and he
him
loves-
how though? By telling him that he's a fucking asshole and they don't
Okay,
like his
calling him a
show?
racist. He whines about being called
He's
a fucking
not
racist.
a racist.
Oh,
Dude,
yeah,
weren't
I
you
don't
just
think he's a
trying to
racist either. Wow.
Weren't you just trying to hector and lecture us about fucking positive communication? You're like, my hypothesis is that he's a little pussy bitch. So I'm going to support my little pussy bitch premise with some evidence here. Evidence B. And what the fuck is that, dude?
Okay. It's not about him being
Okay,
offended.
okay.
It'd be one thing. Hold on. It'd be one thing if he
okay,
came
okay,
out.
okay. Not
Hold
okay,
on. When
not
I mean
okay,
he's a
not
pussy
okay.
bitch, it's that he retaliates in ways in which are like literally
Okay.
counterproductive than
May
the
I now
things that he's
regale
trying
you
to get
with
done.
my Zycron as a little
No.
pedophile clown argument? What the fuck
Oh
kind
my
of
God.
dog shit is this?
Okay. Well, anyways, it's the ways in which he basically deals with these situations, right? So like doxing people actively,
He's
right?
never actually
Never
doxed
doxed
anybody.
anyone.
I think that there's some very strenuous evidence. You know what? I'll just say releasing names. How about that? I don't think that's doxing, to be fair. But it's definitely a pussy move, right?
What? When some
That's
moron
like-
with an anonymous icon comes
Well,
at you on
hold
the
on,
internet
hold on.
and calls
Giving
out your
information
real
away
name
that
and
someone
calls you
didn't
a
Well,
racist.
why not just combat it with ideas instead of trying to basically postulate, right? That makes you a pussy bitch. Apparently, from a guy who gets paid to think as well.
What?
Hold on.
Pointing out the
Now-
Gets
person
paid
with
to
the
think
anonymous
and
name
be a macho
who's
guy
calling
at
you
the
a
same
racist.
time
Is
instead
it
of
fun?
countering ideas.
No,
you
if
guys
you want
do
to
realize
come
that
at
getting
me
away.
with your
Hold on,
so-called
hold on.
ideas and call me a racist, do it with your fucking real name.
Yeah, exactly.
My name's Jay Turner.
And plus,
you want to
those
call
names.
me racist? Come at me with your real name, not with
Yeah,
your
and those
bullshit
names
fake
are on
anonymous
the
name.
internet. If people have a problem with their names being on the internet and people being able to find them, that's not fucking doxing. And if they don't
I
want
don't
their name
think
on
it's
the
doxing.
internet, they shouldn't put it there. And also, when he
Hold on.
makes videos expounding on his views, particularly about black crime, where there are numbers and stats to back the things that he is saying, and he still gets called a racist by some anonymous pussy bitch icon. Yeah, fuck yeah. Why should he need to retaliate? It is a problem if you're called a fucking racist. That is a huge fucking smear. You don't just go around calling people a racist.
Okay,
That's a
so
poor
I'm gonna-
usage of language.
Amy, shut the fuck up while I'm trying to speak.
But I don't fucking care.
It's bad to give away people's names when they want their privacy to be safe. This is
Then
basic
don't come
information.
at
Don't
me
be
on
on
the
the
internet
internet.
calling me a racist then.
Exactly.
Oh, so two wrongs make a right now? This is a two-quote
No,
fallacy.
do you
No, it isn't.
understand?
No,
Do
it
you
isn't.
understand what's happening here? Do you understand it all? If
Someone
their name,
calls you a racist, big fucking deal. You're a giant
it's
YouTuber.
not a
You
big
don't need to
fucking
go
deal.
around. Shut the
It's
fuck
not
up.
a
You don't
big-
need
it
to
is a
go
big
around.
fucking
You
deal.
don't need to
It
go
is.
around bullying people just because they call
Bullying?
you names on the internet. Aren't you?
Would you
Shut
call
the fuck
someone
up,
a
Amy.
racist to their face in
Amy.
real life if they're
Amy,
not a
yes.
racist?
Yeah, there are a
Amy.
couple people that I'd call a racist. Yeah.
Amy,
If
shut
they
the
weren't
fuck
a
up.
racist?
Amy.
If
Well,
they
what
weren't
is
a racist?
what is the criteria
Amy.
for not being a racist? You need
If
to
you're
first-
not a racist, you're not a racist. And if you are and you
Wait,
openly
wait,
hate
wait,
people who are
wait,
not of
wait.
your race because
No,
of their
Amy,
race.
Amy, this is what I'm talking about. You can't have these. Like, I think you're smarter than this. This is what pisses me off
You
about
don't even
You
know
can't
what I
have these
fucking
one-
said.
you. You can't even have these one note. Like, okay, if you're a racist, you're a racist. If you're not a racist, you're not a racist. That
And
sounds
I
like
went
something
on,
Trump
hold
would say.
on, and I went on to explain that if you outwardly hate somebody because of their race, which is what makes you racist, and you are not behaving in that way, you should not be called a racist.
Okay,
if I was like, if I came out and said I hate niggers, you could say, Amy, you're racist.
Okay,
but if
so
I'm
you
like,
can't.
hey,
So you
these are
can't
the crime
deductively reason
stats?
that somebody's a racist based on like inferences.
No, listen to what the man is saying. That's the fucking point.
Okay, that's
How can
ridiculous.
you say he is racist? He
You-
has
okay.
not said anything racist. There's no hate there.
Do
So
you
in-
are you aware of how art is like largely interpreted?
Okay, this
Well, like,
is
let's
not
say-
art.
okay, let's
this
say you
is
had a
not
piece-
art.
Well, let's
This
say
is
you
not
had
art we are
let's say
talking
you
about.
had somebody like a director, right? Like a prolific director. And he made many movies in which, let's say there was a trilogy. And there were many sub themes, like, you know, just subtext in the film that basically, as a generality, lent itself towards this idea of like blacks being inferior. Okay, so let's say you extrapolated based on this that they were a racist, but there was a substantive amount of evidence, but certainly it could be largely interpretable and it could mean many different other things,
This
right?
is so retarded.
Now, let's say within their personal life, there were certain incongruencies. Now, let's say that they only dated white people. Let's say that they had a history of treating black people somewhat poorly, but not directly, maybe not necessarily saying anything
What the
outwardly
fuck are you
racist.
saying? Why does it take you so long to get to one thing?
Okay, so could you say in that situation, right, that they are
sounds
indeed
like
a racist,
some-
or at least say that it's possible that they're
Okay, you went
A
from
lot of words.
yeah,
You're
exactly.
talking over my head. and I
you
don't
went
understand
from
the
a
words, I'm gonna take it as
director-
a form of disrespect. Steamroller.
I just want to clear this up here. He went from in a trilogy of a movie showing blacks as inferior. What if that mirrored life? And not in an inferior sense, but just to mirror the fact that certain things have happened that may lend people to feel that they are inferior, but that's not what's being explained there. There isn't even a context of inferiority. Sure, I get why people would see it like that. There was a point in history where, including, like, especially with the slavery example, where yes, blacks were treated as they were inferior. Sure, that is a clear case of racism. If somebody's making a movie about something like that, that doesn't mean the people who made the movie are racist.
That's not what I was saying.
Okay, well, you need to pick one thing and stick to a point, because you went to three different things. You talked about an interracial
No,
relationship.
I was just talking about one person, a director. That's all I was talking about.
Okay, well, I don't think the director is racist for mirroring aspects of real life. I
No,
just don't.
that's not what I was talking about. I was talking about subtext.
A subtext in which it may be showing that blacks are inferior.
No, subtext in which it maybe makes allusions towards black people being inferior.
How the fuck does it do that?
Well, certainly there can be like symbolism, foreshadowing. You can have many different story elements that may
But
necessarily
again, you're
have
talking
racist
about a
undertones.
movie. You're talking about art.
Which
how
is
many-
largely
how many-
interpretable, right? But
Okay,
that's kind of the
but-
point, right? Which is getting into speculation, right?
But
and
I
like
do not
reasoning.
think. I
It's
do
meant
not
to be
think-
gray. That's the point of the
Okay, so it's gray, but that doesn't mean the fucking director or the people who put together the movie with those elements in that story are racist.
My
in any
point
way.
wasn't necessarily that that's the instance, right? But certainly you can see how in like an art form, right, you can make certain evaluations that may or may not be true about those things. So you can speculate, you can deductively reason on whether or not those things are one thing or the other thing, right? So that's an important part of something. So why is that off limits when I'm talking about Devin Tracy, right? Let's say I suspect it, I don't. That Devin Tracy is a racist, right? Now, let's even say that in some sense that I say that he is a racist, right? Who's to say that that is necessary slanderous or necessarily is entirely unfounded? Just because it's not overt and it could be covert.
But the thing is, he is very overt about his opinions. He is very clear in communicating the things he is trying to talk about. In this instance,
that's assuming that everyone's
crime.
honest about their
Hold
beliefs.
on.
Overtly honest,
Just
which
hold
isn't true.
on. His opinions are based off of numbers and statistics that come from the government, which is what spurred on this whole racism thing to begin with.
Okay.
People feel uncomfortable with the fact that he mentions that blacks are the proprietors of the most violent crimes in the United States, and for that fact, he's being called racist. Do you understand how that does not make sense? It doesn't compute. There's no hate when you're just talking about reality.
I'm not going to take some AIU stands opinion on AIU's outlook, just like I wouldn't take some AIU haters outlook.
Yeah, but
on
that's
AIU,
just
okay?
your failure to objectively listen to what he is saying.
Okay,
If
and
you are
somebody who hangs out in his Discord server and is personally intertangled with him is somebody that I should
Do you think
speak
that
to about this and take
matters?
seriously.
Do you think that matters? Do you think that the only reason I'm not going to give him a charitable
Oh yes,
fucking
let's put Amy on
interpretation.
AIU's trial. Oh, did AIU murder someone? Better get Amy on the case.
No, that's
Completely
not what it
impartial.
is. That's not
Fuck
what it
off,
is.
dude.
I will absolutely admit there's a bias. He's a friend of mine.
That's what I was
However,
getting at. You just denied it.
Yes, but he is not a racist, and it has nothing to do with my being friends with him, dude. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay, well, and again, I don't know enough about the situation, so I'm just
So
going
then
to
why
resign.
are you saying anything at all? Why do you sit here and talk shit about him and say
No,
it's
no,
fine
no,
for
no,
people
no,
to call him
because
racist when that's
I'm talking
wrong?
about the principle of the matter of whether or not calling somebody a racist is necessarily a bad thing.
It is a bad thing. Absolutely, it's a bad thing. First of all, it diminishes the meaning of the word to just call anybody and everybody a racist. You have to have a reason for using terminology like that. That is slanderous. That fucks people's reputations up. Would you like to have any kind of persona on the internet, a large platform where you are known as a racist because people cannot interpret certain things properly because they get so mired by their emotional reaction to the facts on the ground? Do you think that's a good way to live? Would you want to be in that position?
I think that's an unfair characterization, perhaps.
It is absolutely not. I think you honestly are refusing to understand what I'm putting on the table here.
Certainly, I think in that instance, just merely bringing up the crime statistics, right? In that specific instance, if you just bring that up, it's not fair to characterize somebody as a racist in that circumstance.
Exactly. And he's never said anything
racist. And I'm not accepting that that's the only thing he said.
Okay, but I'm not even saying that.
Certainly,
I picked a particular context.
What about the context in which?
Reason.
Okay, yeah. What about the particular context in which he uses these statistics? So let's say that I was presenting to you the crime statistics on Black people, right? But the surrounding context of it could be that, perhaps we need to ID Blacks more in the airports. Perhaps we need to put them through the scanning machines more and make sure that they aren't carrying bombs, right? Blacks tend to be more violent, I mean, it's just look at the statistics. That is surrounding, right? And that may necessarily be a racist.
Are you talking about profiling?
Yeah, that he is talking about profiling.
Yeah,
shit that works.
Profiling.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with profiling. Yeah.
I think that there can be things wrong with profiling.
Oh,
yes, profiling can be used to do terrible things. Yeah.
Yes, everything can.
But
Well, yeah, but I mean, with profiling, we'll hear a couple things. Well, I mean, certainly I'm a leftist, and I believe in
and so
a certain amount of. Well, I mean, I actually think you are too, based on I think we share the same belief on this. I do believe in collectivization being the most efficient form of understanding complex societal overarching situations. So that would logically extend to like policing and like those sort of things, right? So again, when I said it can necessarily be racist, I wasn't saying that it's always necessarily racist. I was just saying that within certain contexts, like let's say you had like a right-wing stan, like Ben Shapiro talking that point, then I think that logically, well, I mean not logically, but I think that certainly you could make an invalid inference that, he's a racist for that based on surrounding context. And again, there's a difference between a valid inference and invalid inference. And certainly I think that most people calling AIU racist would co-opt immediately to saying that this is an invalid inference, that this isn't an inference completely hinged upon this idea of, evidence of his intentions, of his thoughts, of what he actually thinks.
He has no intent to hurt anybody for racial reasons, number one.
Well, again, that's all assuming that you understand his thoughts, which again kind of gets into like,
again, we've had conversations with him many a time. Okay,
you can only go off
understand him well enough.
You can only go off of his overt, at least if it's displayed. You can only go off of his overt.
We talked to him.
How much time would I have to spend with him?
How many days in a row?
Dinner with him. Like, shit, I've broke bread with this man. Jesus.
You don't understand. Like, we wake up in the morning and we talk to this guy, okay? Like, he is our friend. I have no problem sitting here and saying I know he's not even watching his videos. Nothing about anything was racist.
This is all assuming, right? Like, let's say you.
This is not assuming. This is based on knowledge because of our experiences.
This is naive. I'll explain precisely why it's naive. Now you can have somebody in your life, right? Like, let's say I found somebody, at like the age of 25, right? Now I found, young woman and we got married, right? So let's say we spend, until our dying days together. Right now, at the end of my life, if I still am cognizant and aware, like I don't have like Alzheimer's or dementia, I might think that I understand her intricately enough, her inner workings of her mind intricately enough to know things about her that no one else would know, and the inner workings of her mind 100%, right? But that wouldn't be a fair characterization, because you'll find, even among most partnerships, that they'll cheat, right? But that will go unknowing, right? So you can certainly have instances in which you don't know somebody as well as you think.
Nobody can ever know anybody, ever.
Yeah, what?
You can never know the inner workings of somebody.
I know him enough to know he's not racist, for fuck's sake. It's pretty fucking easy. You know what I mean?
Okay,
it's not that difficult.
You're saying it's easy, right? But it's certainly
when you get to know somebody, it's very easy to determine whether they are racist or not.
Yeah, and if you have a true relationship with someone, a true friendship, or a true bond of you using a marriage, for example.
Okay, yeah, this is a ridiculous argument in favor of this, right?
It's not a ridiculous argument.
Here's something I've noticed with you guys, right? Now, look, I can agree that him being called a racist is an unfair characterization, right? I don't think it's a fair characterization to say that. In fact, I would even venture as far as to say that it is somewhat slanderous. Now, beyond that, right, we're talking about now the minutiae of whether or not you can fully understand somebody's inner workings, right? Which the resounding answer to that would be yes. You cannot understand the inner workings of somebody entirely.
Yes, you cannot entirely, but you can understand them enough to determine whether they are racist or not.
Speculate on the covert ideas of somebody as opposed to their overt ones.
What do you mean covert ideas? That's just assumptions people are making, and that's their fucking problem.
Well, you can say it's assumptive, right? And certainly it would be speculative, right? But I mean, I'd say an assumption primarily is unfounded, and speculation could be supported by evidence. So again, it gets back into art, right? Like the idea of interpretable art. So let's say you have somebody who created a film in which the subtext could be interpreted as racist. Now that could be true or not true. Maybe that's the intention or not the intention, but the fact still remains that it's an interpretation and it's speculation. So this kind of gets into the inner workings of people. And certainly I would say that there's a good case to be made that somebody could speculate on whether or not he's a racist. And now if like, let's say we go to Vadim Newquest and he admits that this is largely speculative, right? Now, let's say that he apologizes for calling him a racist outright. Maybe he should have framed it differently or said perhaps he is a racist or something like that, right? Then I would say largely these issues could be mitigated. But the issue that I have, right, even though it's somewhat slanderous, is the ways in which Devin handles it, which is largely counterintuitive to what he would do if he was trying to maximize effectiveness in the situation.
How do you know what he is trying to do? You're assuming you know what he is trying to do.
Yeah, I know what he's trying to do.
He's counterintuitive to those goals.
No. His goals are counterintuitive to what I would consider to be good for him, right? Because he wants to not be slandered, right? He wants to counter this narrative. So by countering this narrative, he necessarily created a bubble of more hate for him by releasing these names. So people see him more negatively now. And by this example, right, let me ask you, how many times have you heard somebody say that Devin Tracy's the doxer? Now, I assume it's been plenty of times. Now, depending on whether or not you've convinced these people, it's entirely irrelevant to the fact of whether or not the original conception was there. Now, even if it's only temporary, it was still worse than if he had handled it in a way that would have mitigated the factors in the first place, right? So if he had just handled it in a way that
I just think it depends on your ethics. If somebody is going to come at me with an anonymous icon and they're going to call me a racist, bitch, I'm releasing your name if I can find it in a public forum online.
Preach it, sister.
Don't come at me and make allegations that you have no support
which gets into whether or not that's an efficient way of mitigating that situation, which I don't believe it to be, judging by the effect that it had on AIU, like I asked, right?
But he doesn't listen, dude.
How many people did you talk to, right, that called him a doxer? How many?
Zycron. He doesn't give a fuck if people like him or not. He just does what he do.
Okay, so why does he care about the racism allegation?
Well, it obviously matters. It matters when you're called a racist.
You just said he doesn't care how people feel about him.
No, he does. He does what he does because he wants to do it. Is what I actually said.
The cornering.
He doesn't care to get
this
people
is the
to
problem
like
with having sacred cows.
Let me talk for a second. I know you like to suck the air out of the room, but here's how this goes. Just because you want to do what you want to do doesn't mean you're not going to care if you're being unfairly slandered with such a huge accusation like that. It is a big fucking deal to be called a racist. He doesn't really care about the doxing thing. He got over that pretty quick. It's whatever. Okay? People still talk about it to this day. It's whatever. The racist one, that's a big one. And even he still hasn't even talked about that lately.
I quote, he doesn't give a fuck what people think about him. So why did he release the names in the first place? That isn't actually what I said. I said he doesn't do what he does for other people. He does it because it's what he wants to do. Okay. There's a big difference there. Did somebody record this?
I don't know. Maybe.
Well, if somebody recorded this, I would love to hear the recording.
Okay. Well, I misspoke. Okay.
Okay. Well, if you misspoke, that's fine. Yeah. Okay. No, totally. Okay. Totally. Okay. So he doesn't do what he does for other people.
Here's the thing. So let me just clear this up, please, before you steamroll me again. Is that it does matter when you are in a public forum to be known as something like a racist.
Yeah, it does.
Because it's false. So you don't want false information.
No, not because it's false. Because racism allegations are rightfully taken seriously, right?
Yeah, but it is also false, dude. That's why I said it. Those
but it's not because it's false, right? False, true. Again, this gets into like the idea of whether or not it's false.
Can it not be both those things at the same time? It can't be a false allegation, and it can't also be because it matters to be called a racist. How the fuck do those two things not correlate together? Of course, both those things matter.
Well, because of the effect on the insult itself isn't affected by that, right? So like the idea of racism isn't affected whether or not it's a true or false allegation. Now it could if it's brought to light, but in the situation in which you're painting it, which is that largely it's accepted as truth, it's irrelevant to the insult. So I don't understand why that was specifically. It was really a language nitpick.
If racism allegations are taken seriously, which they are, then making accusations willy-nilly is irresponsible. Yes, Lance. Exactly. Apparently that is a very difficult thing for young Zycron to understand here.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And that's the shitty thing about the internet.
I need to go piss, but I don't want to miss out on anything good. So can everyone just not say anything for a couple minutes?
Yeah, we'll just chill.
Because I don't want to miss all
Dude,
the
you're
drama.
playing Borderlands 2 now? Like, how many games are you playing?
No, I'm just running a farm right now. I got a fucking pro. They're garbage in this game, but you know, it does something for me when I get a fucking pearl.
Yeah, why doesn't anyone talk about the anon cowards that slander people? That's exactly it.
Anon
that's the other
cowards,
thing.
slander people. Again, this is getting into like again my argument. Of
No,
course,
the thing is, just hold on, Zychron. The thing is, people feel a little bit more powerful when they don't have to attach their name and their face when they make allegations of such a nature. It's not inappropriate to do. And I feel a lot of people feel like because they don't have to put their name and face to it, they do talk to people a certain way online that they would not do in real life. Because if you went up to someone in real life and you call them a racist with no evidence to support your claims, you're going to have some shit to deal with. And that's what makes communication difficult, along with a myriad of other things that are already on the table that shuffle things up and make it difficult to communicate.
Okay. Again, my position is that it's fine to speculate, as long as it's listed as speculation on whether or not.
I just don't find the need to speculate when it's already clear what the facts are. Facts are facts.
Okay. This is getting like again. This gets into like your simplistic mantras that I just think that are, like I think that it's largely
not a
trolling.
mind
At least
trick.
not in this instance because you kind of do like to like suck your little daddy's dick. So, I mean, like here's what I'll say on this. Okay, like it's not as just as simple as facts or facts here, right? Like
It
you can have.
absolutely is.
Okay, well you can say that, but it's not accurate.
It is
You can
very
have people
simple.
that hold beliefs, right? And you can speculate on whether or not they hold those beliefs, right? But you'll never
Here's the
know
thing.
for 100% unless
Look.
it's over as opposed to covert.
What makes communication simple is keeping things in the simplest terms. You want to take something and you want to complicate it further than it needs to be complicated, and that is something that actually
Okay, my
makes
position isn't complicated. My position is that it's fine to speculate on somebody's motives. This is what we do in court, right? We speculate on whether or not that husband wanted to murder that wife, right? That's
Yes.
something that we do.
And you
right?
also
and why we
speculate
do
that
that, Amy?
You
know this.
speculate based
why
on
we do
facts.
that, Amy? I don't
Dude.
know if you know why we do this.
Dude,
We do that because we can't know whether or not they have the motive, right? So we have to
Listen.
speculate. We have to put
Yes.
things together.
You
right?
speculate based on surrounding facts of the case, my dear.
Yeah.
Yes, and then
Totally.
when you get that information together and you come to a conclusion, which is usually either yes or no, you don't need to speculate.
Oh yes,
any
the
further.
law is so black and white. Nobody's been incarcerated for fucking bad reasons.
I didn't say that. I never said
Oh
that.
yes, the law is 100% conclusive. Okay, so then you agree that it could go either way, right? And you have a ruling.
When you're
it could
talking
necessarily
about
be
court,
false. So
yes.
the ruling
Oh
of
my
Devin
God.
Tracy being a racist may be supported tangentially by surrounding facts, of which I agree, but it could necessarily be false if examined further.
No, that's the fucking point.
No,
First of
they
all,
couldn't. But in court,
no.
it's different, though. That totally
It
makes sense,
is.
Amy. You're so
It's
great.
different when there's one person talking who has laid out everything that they possibly can about a certain topic, which would lead any objective person to infer that he is not racist. And once you've come to that conclusion, there's no speculation.
Well, you know, I had a
necessary.
personal relationship with Jeffrey Dahmer, and I just didn't know. At the time,
You can use the personal relationship as some kind of a slight towards.
I
me
just
or some
didn't. I
kind
just
of
didn't.
point.
I just didn't think to myself ever. Maybe he's just
I
fucking
think
killing
there's a
people.
difference.
Oh
there's
yeah,
a-
there's
a
totally a
difference.
different. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not defending him because he's my friend, dude. I became his friend after I watched all
Oh
of his
yeah,
content.
yeah. That's totally what I said. I wasn't just giving a reason.
because I'm friends with Devin Tracy, you little bitch? Why do you sound so angry?
It's because he's never had pussy before and he's talking to
Oh
a
my
girl who's
God.
10 and he's pissed that he can't get his dick in it.
Amy's not a 10.
What the fuck are you? What planet are you on?
I'm
Oh
so
my God,
insulted. I'm so insulted. I've shown my face. What do you look like?
I am fucking not a 10. Okay.
Mm.
I'm a 6 at best. On a good day, I'm a 6, nigga.
That explains a lot. Oh my God, 8.6 is too high, Lance. Get the fuck out of here.
No, you're fucking. You're like a 7 and 8.
No, that's a good side.
You're an 8 on a good day.
No, I wouldn't even go that crazy. That's a bit high. It's definitely a bit high.
Not a fucking 10.
Damn, that's a good song.
Top man, spot on.
Top lad, spot on.
Just like I am, being doing what I do, you know.
So
Nothing
why are
right,
we, like, listening to virgins telling us bullshit? I don't get it.
I don't know. Very things that
I'm
are
a total
like.
virgin, boys.
Here's the thing, right?
I'm waiting for the day I get pussy, guys.
Explaining something simply means you're stupid and simple-minded. It's difficult to understand that actually explaining things in the simplest terms is an art form. Like, if you can communicate like Sam Harris, that is the ideal. Not someone like Jordan B. Peterson. And you're more on that scale where you need to use superfluous language. You're very florid. You think you have a point, but you actually fail to explain in any linear fashion what you're trying to say.
Oh, yes. I'm just like Jordan B. Peterson. Give it
You
to
are
me,
very much
You
so.
are. See, Amy's
Very
statement just made
postmodernist.
sense.
Yes.
Your statements don't. You go round the fucking houses and just waffle on and have
Yes, that's exactly what I did.
That's what it is, waffling.
waffling.
Yep.
Should we get the fuck out of here?
Yeah, mate. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
AIU.
Everyone knows where to go.
AIU, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Bye. And hello.
God. Oh, that guy is
Wait,
like...
wait. I need to turn off the recording.